So yeah, generative AI, I think it's become a real hyped space. It's become a bit intimidating at the moment. You're hearing a lot of talk of like LangChain, AutoGPT, autonomous agents, vector databases. It's sounding quite complex. So really I just wanted to talk through and bring it back to the fundamentals of what the whole space is, how easy it is to play with, and yeah, how you guys can start leveraging it. If you haven't played with it yet, I really just want to get back to showing you how easy it is and how much fun you can have with it. So yeah, about 6 months ago, we started building a product called Bedtime Story. So it was our attempt to sort of get our head in the space and understand it. Let me have a look here. Oh yeah, you changed something with the presentation mode, didn't you? Yeah, sorry, buddy. So yeah, really, I just want to talk about the prompts. It's all just prompts. All this thing about autonomous agents, everything that's going on, it's all just a simple prompt. So there's nothing too fancy happening. And for me, yeah, what is a prompt at the end of the day? Does anyone, like, a prompt, the large language model like GPT-4 is just this huge vector space, a big, huge load of numbers. And a prompt is really just like throwing a ball into that vector space. So if I say AWS CDK, it knows to go to the AWS space, CDK, and it knows to operate there. So tweaking your prompt is just like putting a bit of spin on the ball when you throw it into that vector space. And I'll show you some of the prompts that we use for Bedtime Story, how we evolved the product, and yeah, just how easy it is. Really, I just like, at the end of the day, all I want you guys to come away with is how easy this is. See, I'm going to make you a bit dizzy with the way I present too, because I go across a Miro board. Yeah, so for me, large language models, I'm not going to get into a technical term. To me, they're just a bit of magic that's been introduced into the world. If someone showed me the things you can do today, last year, I would have been like, that's so cool. Like, it's what I dreamed of working on when I was a kid getting into tech. Like, it's so much fun. Some of the things you do, and people look at the products you build, and they get that, like, wow, that's magic. Like, and when you see that in their face, it's the most amazing thing to have worked on something and see that reaction. And so I think our ability to contain, control, and coordinate them help us make products that feel like magic. Like when we first showed people Bedtime Story, some people was like, wow, that's magic. I can't believe that you did that. And most importantly, people pay for magic. So I'm a dad now. I'm not here for fun as well. I got to make money, feed the family. I want to work on things that bring in revenue. And we got that with Bedtime Story. I started working on a new app, and the first feedback I got from my sister, she'd never played with ChatGPT before. And she was like, it's really cool, really impressive how responsive it is and the way it understands things. And like, that's not me, that's just me putting an API on ChatGPT. But if I'm the first guy in that space, it looks like me, and I'm going to get the credit. So yeah, I think you guys, there's a huge first mover advantage here. So I want like everyone in this audience to hopefully come out and play with it and realize if you're first in the space to get on top of this, you look like as good as OpenAI. Like, wow, you did that. So yeah, Bedtime Story was our way. So the way I understand things is I build with them. Like if I read, I don't really get that much out of it. So all this stuff was coming out about large language models, ChatGPT, generative AI. All sounds really intimidating. So I was like, let's just build something simple. And we built a Bedtime Story generator. And we were really amazed with how much, like how viral it went and how much people loved it. But what it really gave us was like an anchor to like understand like what it is, what its flaws are, what its shortcomings are. Like you'll see on Twitter, I'm sure everyone has seen autonomous agents, AutoGPT, all these things. Like when you start to build it, you're like, oh yeah, it's got flaws as well. Like it's not like, you need to actually build something to realize and integrate it into your business. So I proposed it to Linus, who's a bit of a product whiz. He whipped up a Miro board, which is like all of this stuff, and we built a platform on top of it. So that was in November. And I mean, roughly, this is what the product is. Like, I'm not going to give you the exact prompt because I need to retain some IP, but it's like, write a bedtime story about it. So this is like back in November, ChatGPT wasn't around yet. So this is all it is. It's just one prompt. So it's like write a bedtime story about a bunch of cool nerds go to latency conference, but Brian is the coolest nerd of all. And then ultimately, this is all that happens here. Yeah, once upon a time in a small Australian city of Perth. Yeah, so hopefully it says something good about me. Brian, the coolest of all in the bunch. Yeah, so that's all it is, right? This is all that's underneath Bedtime Story. So we built that product, we built a really nice looking input to put that on top of it. And first off, we just had a loader, but I mean, it takes like 30 seconds to generate a story. A loader doesn't feel magical, like this thing is magical. So the first thing we did was change from a loader to a typing interface. So instead of putting it in there, we kick straight into typing. So it feels like you're connected to the AI. It starts typing, should start typing. Yeah, so I started typing out the story. What we're doing here is really just buying time. So large language models are actually a little slow to type things out. So here it's typing out the title, then it'll get into the actual story itself, and then we're buying time for the next image to be generated. So it feels sort of like a magical experience, like you're interacting with a real person. And then we go through and do an image, and we do some fancy things there. But I mean, ultimately, it's about giving the users that feel of like, wow, this is really magical to me. And that's when we got our first paying customer. And I mean, like, there's nothing too fancy going on here. I'm just doing like a typewriter NPM module, type it out while I'm waiting, delete it, type it again. You know, like, it's just playing around with these things to build experiences for customers. When you're streaming the content, you want to stream it in and keep parsing it. So I just parse it, and then I have a helper function which converts it to paragraphs, feed it in. Yeah, and to most people it felt like magic, that interaction of like, wow, it's just created a title for me, it's created this. It felt like magic. And the good thing is people paid for magic. So like we started like taking off in our payments, which was really cool. Like within a few weeks to have a paying customer was pretty amazing. We did subscriptions. I think we'd have made a lot more if we didn't do subscriptions, but yeah, we were greedy maybe. And then we had some mass, like one thing, if you're used to working with AWS, you'd be amazed how unreliable OpenAI is for something, a unicorn tech company. There's so many outages, there's so many issues. So like I had a thing planned for Valentine's Day here, the whole site went down, couldn't launch it, we lost customers. So it's just part of the game, being in cutting edge tech. So some learnings from it for if you're building generative AI products, put in moderation. People are obsessed with Hermione being a lesbian, like it's just one of those things. Got so much of this type of stuff. Yeah, it's very bad. It's better, but still unstable. Like it's so unreliable. Like we've lost customers just because they come in and it's like down for the hour. So yeah, need to build in, retry with exponential back off, all that stuff. If you're streaming a response from it, you need to save it to resubmit it if it errors. Because it's really frustrating. You might use GPT-4. It's gone for 60 seconds streaming and then it cuts out. So you need to save what it's given you to tell it to resume. Because if you don't save it, you've got to start from the start again. And ChatGPT won't give you the exact same response the next time. So things like that are really important to think about from the start. Some AWS-specific things. I forgot about CloudFront, like a solution architect professional, and I did that. So just being honest, sometimes you forget things. I used Dynamo. I would never use Dynamo again for a product where I didn't really know what I was doing. It became really frustrating because people wanted to see their stories in different ways, and the access patterns were really annoying to change. And I was new to web. I hadn't done server-side rendering before. I used Next.js, and people started sharing all these stories, and it was going really viral. But like, which one are you going to click on? Are you going to click on that, or are you going to click on this? So I had built it all as like a React.js app, and every link was like this. So I quickly had to like go, shit, how do I do server-side rendering so that things look good? So server-side rendering, you need to put a function in your thing, but like all my backend was on AWS. And yeah, it was a pain. I had to like deploy the Lambda, and then I had to test it locally, and then the Lambda wasn't right, and I'd have to redo it. And I was getting really frustrated. And I wasn't having fun anymore at that point. I've got paying customers to serve, and I'm having issues. So I actually ripped everything off AWS. I love AWS, so everyone at AWS don't give out to me for it. It was just for this product, it didn't work. Probably you don't need to leave AWS, but for this type of product, I just pulled it off, put everything from Dynamo into Supabase, and I went all in on Vercel and Vercel functions. And it actually went really well. Like I spent 2 weeks going head down on it, and it's worked really well since. And the good thing is that everything runs locally. So instead of like deploying to AWS, all my functions run along with my website. And so when I make a change to the query, I can test it locally instantly. So no waiting. I click deploy, Vercel deploys it, and it's there. So yeah, really nice experience. I can run a local Postgres instead of Supabase. And yeah, everything in generative AI is webhooks. So like, if I'm requesting an image, it'll be generated on the server, and I'll get a webhook back. And the beautiful thing about Next.js is like you can use a service like ngrok. So I can say bedtimestory.ngrok.app, and that's always running in my dev environment. So then when I'm playing locally in dev, all the webhooks come back to my local dev environment, and then I deploy it, and another version of it has the deployed one. So it's like really, like rather than deploying to Lambda testing and get an issue, this works really well. It's been really like wonderful dev experience. But while that was happening, our virality had turned down, and then churn was happening, so we had to evolve to keep up. And like, this is what I just want to come back to here. It's just changing a prompt. Like, we're just changing things around. It's just a prompt window. So I realized we could make adventure stories. Rather than just a single story, we could make adventure stories. So in here is like an adventure story. So I'm fighting Voldemort here, and for some reason he challenges me to chess. So I'll use the grandpa strategy. So instead of just using a one-shot prompt, I'm building like a prompt window. And then see, one of the problems here is how slow it is for the user experience. I wanted to talk about this. So it should kick back. So now I'm in an adventure story, and I can go on and I can accept the challenge and fight Voldemort. It's a really fun experience for kids, and I want to turn these into more educational adventures. But again, this is basically the exact same prompt, so you can steal my product if you want. I don't really care if you're a better marketer than me. So I'm using GPT 3.5. The system prompt is basically like a direction to the large language model. It's very weak in 3.5. It's better in GPT-4. So I don't waste much tokens in there on GPT 3.5. I use it in the user prompt. And I say, here's an example of the content I want. And it's a big blob of JSON. Give me a string, which is the next paragraph, and give me some decisions. And yeah, like if I submit it in here, this is the adventure today. So here I just inject the user input, and it's going to give it back to me. And the reason you've seen the front end waiting there is because it has to parse a JSON line. I have to get the whole JSON back. So that's like a bit of a delay. If you want to improve this, you can decompose your JSON into JSON lines. So instead of doing that, I can say, give me JSON lines for this. And so that gives me the content first, and I can parse that and go, okay, here's the content. And then I can say, get the decisions afterwards. So I can render the content while I'm still waiting for the decisions. If you don't want to use JSON-L, you can come up with your own format. GPT is really flexible. What time am I at? 13:20. Okay. Yeah, so now revenue is ticking back up, which is really good. It's so depressing when you've released a product and you're putting loads of time into rebuilding it, and now churn is kicking in. It's like I'm coding and I'm seeing a notification that another customer is cancelled. It's like, it's really hard to keep going, but you get there in the end. So if you do release a product after this and it goes viral and then you have to go through the bad part, you come out the other end. So we had bedtime story in a classroom, our first classroom this week. It was just yesterday. So it was actually in France. So one of the things you get from large language models is you get every language in the world for free. So like we've gone really viral in France. And like if I had done this outside of generative AI, that would have been a huge thing to do. Like let's launch it in France. It just happened. Like I didn't even know. So I had to translate what she said. And they conceptualize, the AI implements, but they still retain control to edit and modify, and they're quite demanding. So, you know, kids, it's pretty cool to see kids using your product like that. So yeah, I want to extend it more in the adventure space, but like, if I'm extending it, it's just changing some prompts. Like, there's nothing, you're going to hear a lot of fancy words like LangChain and autonomous agents. Like, really, I'm just going in here and changing some prompts around and changing how I orchestrate prompts. That's all that's going on. Like, this whole generative AI buzz, it's just like, anyone in here can go in here and come up with a really fascinating idea, because it's just putting in some text and getting some text out. And how you do that, you can do some amazing things, but don't be too intimidated by it. So we talked about, I think Jaden talked about a chatbot. I think chatbot in the enterprise space is going to be really big. So I wanted to talk a bit about the chatbot space. So what is a chatbot? Really in generative AI, it's really just like a chain of these prompts, right? The user comes in, the bot replies. How the bot is going to reply is powered by the system prompt that I give it. So here I've given it a prompt, umbrella bot, like Resident Evil, so I went with this one. Help the customer with their problems. I want to give it the persona of Larry David, so it knows how Larry David responds. When they ask a question, just reply with just checking now. So I want to show you how you can use this. So with the front-end application, I probably see like 90% of front-end applications turning into chatbots, 80 to 90%, because a lot of what they do is very simple. Like think of a booking app. You're showing a calendar, which is just trying to get to a list of dates, which the user then selects a date, and that can all be a chatbot. And the good thing about a chatbot is it can solve problems that you haven't thought of yet. So you might think, okay, there's all these meeting rooms. I actually want to get which hour of the day has a meeting room, is free for every meeting room. Like that's hard to do in a front-end application. But if you just give it to a chatbot and give all the context, the user might be able to figure that out for themselves. So it's like being really agile. Just give the user all this data, see how they use it. And they're calling it, I think it's called micro apps. Like it's basically like solving a one-off use case, which you can't do nowadays. So there's lots of potential. You just give all your employees all this information and they can use it. So this is an example. No, sorry for switching around so much. So Jayden talked about quality in, quality out. Jayden's down there. I thought it was a really good point. And there's been a lot of hype around vector databases. So you can give all your information to a vector database. Again, it sounds like a really fancy thing. This is all your data. And like what you can think of as a vector database is just like select star from my whole data where the text is like this text. And then it's taking that and it's just injecting it into the chat window. It's very simple. And what it is it's probably pretty flawed because the select star might get data that's not relevant. It might select too much data and then it burns your tokens because you can only put so much in. So it's trying to like take this giant data store and give you the most relevant bit. If you can do what Jayden did and like reduce it, you have much higher chance of hitting the quality data with it. I don't actually use vector databases because it's pretty hard to test and know what's going to come out every time. So I haven't got too deep into them. But ultimately, that's all that's happening. It's just saying, give me the most relevant data in that data set so that you can like put a big data set into your chatbot. The thing I really like and what's powering a lot of the autonomous agents now is you can have a single chat window and then all of a sudden you can fork off another chat window because we're used to interacting with ChatGPT through a single window, but if we're using it programmatically, we can fork off new context windows. So someone says, what meeting rooms are available today? So we've told the bot to say just checking now if someone asks a question. So now, once I see just checking now, I can fork off another window and go, find the best bot to handle this request. And then a bot knows to go and call the meeting room API, and it comes back with all the meeting room data. And then all you do is take that, inject it back into this chat window, and then you just say, answer their question, and then when it submits it, here are the meeting rooms available today. Zombie room from 10 to 11 and 1400. And you can see it has healthy snacks, so you can put in more information. If you wanted to add a feature, you could just put more data in, and now it's all available. Which meeting room has good snacks? So like just by adding more data in, you don't need to change your program. Now all of a sudden the customers can ask different questions, so you're solving more problems. Oh, it's doing the question thing, I forgot about that. Yeah, that doesn't work in that regard. But this is how easy it is to play around with it. And there you go. So they're solving problems on the fly just by providing data. I think it's really a fascinating space. And again, you'll hear all autonomous agents and all this fancy stuff. It's just prompt orchestration. There's nothing fancy going on. So I just want to take you through, I'm building a new chatbot. So I just want to take you through the process of building a chatbot. So for me, it's like I'm having a new kid yesterday. So what I want to do is get all the personalities that you need for a child. So breastfeeding expert, a nutritionist. So all of these, I want to put them into one app. So I'm creating a chatbot for parents. So first off, all I did was create a bio. So Dr. Spoonful was one I created. Derek has been looking for Dr. Spoonful, so here he is. And I got Gemma's sister to create a bio from him. So this gives him his role and it gives him his personality. So you can see it's got a good personality in it. I just take that and I put it into a prompt. So in here, I'm going, you're modeling the mind of Dr. Spoonful. So I have a lot of bots. So I have just a JSON thing which shows their name, their role, their bio. So I take all of that and I inject it into this prompt. And this is, again, just a system window. And then it introduces itself. And then I say, my child won't eat broccoli. Should I tie them to the chair until they have a piece? And then it's going to come back and hopefully be in Dr. Spoonful's voice. Oh, Brian, no need to resort to it. So you can, by changing the bio, I can change how it responds. So it's really fun. And then, obviously, generative AI isn't only text. We have images. So now I can create the character from it. So I can sort of bring Dr. Spoonful to life. So in here, we can go into Midjourney. And I can go /imagine. And this is a prompt I just found online. I just went to a prompt thing to find the right one. So Midjourney is going to go off and create this doctor for me. Where is it? It'll be a little while. I want to show you the running app then that I've created. Here's Dr. Spoonful. This is the one that I took in the end. So I took the bio and asked ChatGPT to make a smaller, condensed one for this part of the app. So as I'm building the app, I'm just taking the bio, going, hey, I need a one-liner. ChatGPT, please give me a one-liner for this part. And so I have a few different characters here. I need to get more avatars. I've had a busy week. I haven't got a chance to. But Dr. Snooze, I don't know what I'll make them look like. But you can see it's quite fun, right? It's very quick for me to create like a chatbot, give them some personality, give them a visual. And then I go into the app and yeah, I should be able to chat with them. Behind the scenes then, again, I have ngrok running, so it's Team Childhood. So while I'm developing, all of this is coming in on my local PC. I don't need to deploy to the cloud. So in the background, we've had Dr. That wasn't as good as my first one. But if you don't like it, you can see one and you can ask for a variant on it if you haven't used Midjourney. So he looks like the friendliest. So I'll do a variant on number 2 in the background. And in the meantime, I'll have a chat with Dr. Spoonful. So I think with this, I want to have a welcome message first, but I haven't got to there. So, hey there, how's things? So again, it should just be going to ChatGPT. I do a little loader thing while it's going on, and then I'm just streaming the response, so it feels like really interactive. That's the thing my sister really liked, rather than waiting that it comes back. Won't eat broccoli again. So again, just making it more convenient for people. Sure, they can use ChatGPT, but maybe they prefer to use my app with a nice picture. That's what I'm betting on. So that's why I'm putting my time into it. So yeah, that's sort of creating a chatbot, giving it personality. You can do it very quickly, right? And you see how quick this is and how much information it gives. Like, imagine a year ago I had released this to the public. It would be like insane. And to some people, it is. So they haven't seen ChatGPT. So if you can be the first one to do it, like give me some recipes. I've got 3 minutes to go, okay. It'll actually give them recipes. So yeah, really fun stuff, I think. And then in here you can see you can play around with this, and when you get the right one, you pick the upscale one and it'll go and upscale it. Anyway, that's how you can create a chatbot. Am I going too fast or is it going okay? It's going okay? Good, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, one thing I found really cool was this Meet Samantha. So what this chatbot does, which is really different, if you want to really take your chatbot idea and go a bit further, I'm going to act really creepy here just to show you. Hey Samantha, you look good today. Sorry, I'm not a creep, but I just want to show you how things. So this guy has decided that it's more authentic if you give a bot like what it received. So I'm an AI, it's got its thoughts and what it should say. This gives me the insight that the user might be trying to establish a friendly rapport. You're kind of kind to me. And then it thinks about the message. So you might think this is really fancy or hard, but all it is again, is like, I keep repeating this point, like it's just a prompt. So like, you don't have to be tech, like any creative in the audience, if there's any writers, like you can do this. Like this guy actually got ChatGPT to create this app. Like it doesn't look great, right? But it works. And instead of asking just for text, he said you should respond with feeling, thought, message, and analysis. So you can see feeling, thought, message, and then reflecting on it improves the next interaction of it. So next, as it comes along, it actually sees that it's thought about it and it improves the quality of output. So yeah, really fun stuff to play with. Again, like I can take this thing, it's the exact same thing, right? Hey Samantha, you look good today. I feel creepy saying that. So that's all it's doing. And he's just put it into a nice interface. So it's really fun, like it's get creative, have fun. There's so much things you can do with it. Yeah, so I'm like, if you start to get intimidated by the space, just come back to this idea that it's just prompts. Everyone is just orchestrating prompts. So how far can prompts take us? This one really blew my mind. It's called Voyager, an open-ended embodied agent. So it explores Minecraft more than any other agent. And like, I just couldn't believe, like usually when I see this stuff, I'm like, oh, some data scientist team has spent like 2 years doing data science. Like some guys have just orchestrated prompts to get this autonomous agent working in Minecraft. And it's just prompts, no data science needed. So like automatic curriculum, iterative prompting mechanism, skill library. This is the whole code for it. Like tiny, so it goes, hey GPT-4, write me the code to do this. So it asks for something to do, goes to ChatGPT. Again, it's just a prompt. Then when it gets to do something, it just goes, write me the JavaScript code on the fly to do this task. So it's going to the Mindflayer API to write the code. Then it evaluates it based on that code. Again, it's just a prompt. You're an assistant that assesses my progress. It gives some examples. If the prompt was good, it adds it to a skill library and saves it. To give it a good explanation of what the skill library is, it just asks ChatGPT to describe what it did. And like, I just can't get over that. Like someone like me with pretty like basic coding skills can create an autonomous agent that was like things that data scientist teams would do for 2 years. I just think it's amazing. So yeah, one last thing I'd show you is like I kind of use ChatGPT a lot. Things like this are really good for developer productivity. Chatbot UI, so you can go in and create a prompt that you want to reuse and give it some things. So in here I have like, where is it? Styled React component. So I tell it a bit about my app, and then when I want to reuse it, what's going on with this? Styled React component, horizontal scroller. I need to type well. So like it's just really creating reusable prompts. Demo gods didn't favor me, but you get the idea. Rather than going in every time and repeating the things, common tasks that you do can just be plugged into this chatbot UI and put in with a variable. So yeah, that's it really. One thing I wanted to offer is I have a Perth Discord, so Perth Generative AI Builders Discord. I'll post it in the Slack. I'm offering my $500 community builders credit to the first person that posts a product with a payment link. So if you want to build, I think I really want to see more people just building some things and shipping with it. So the first person to actually ship something with a payment link, I'm offering $500 AWS credit. So hop into that Generative AI Discord. Dale shipped a product like up there. So he was one of the first people in the team to do it. So you can check out his product. And like it's really just, we do chat in there about some things we have going on. So if you're new to generative AI, pop in there. It'd be good to get some people in Perth to chat with around it. And yeah, if you're playing around with generative AI and you want some help or you want to chat, give me a shout. And yeah, I think it's, I think it's one of the best times in the world to be building. I'm really pumped that like I've worked to get this skill set I have and now all the stuff has come out. It's like the best Lego in the world has just come out. So I think just have fun and try and be a kid again. Like don't forget about the doom or the hype, just have fun with it because there's so much cool things you can build and you don't even need to be technical to do it. You just need to be creative. So yeah, that's it.